What's everyone? I wasn't originally going to make this video, but I said fuck it. I've seen this ship up enough times, so I want to make this quick video. And that is, I've watched a couple of Game of the Year countdowns for 2018. I enjoy watching these at the end of every year, just to see what people thought of the games that count the year, what their favourites are, and their general impressions. But there's been a couple now. I've watched a good couple of videos, and they've all said the same thing. Sorry about that. And that is, for some fucking reason, the odds that 2018 was a poor year for games. And I'm just like, what? Are you fucking... am I missing something? Have I been asleep for all this year? Or have I just been in the wrong fucking year all this time? Because to me, this year has had tons of games. It's had a lot of great games. Now don't get me wrong. Like 2017 last year, which is the year they all keep comparing this year to, was a phenomenal year for games. It is. You know, Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Horizon, Yakuza, Persona, Nier. I know, I get all that. Great year. But they make it sound like this year has had fuck all. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And there's a ton of indies, and everyone agrees there's been a lot of good indies this year. But it's the AAAs they keep saying there's no good AAAs this year. None has stood out. There's been fuck all. It's like a drought. I'm like, what the fuck are you on about, man? Like, here's a quick list of some of the games off the top of my head, AAA games, right? Or at least close enough to AAA games. Far Cry 5, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Dragon Quest XI, Kingdom Come Deliverance, Definitive Original Sin 2 for consoles, specifically the PS4, Hitman 2, Darksiders 3, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I knew this would happen. I knew I'd read. Oh, God. We got Detroit, and we have, oh my God, of course, the big three. Sorry, this is just my mind blank. God of War, Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption 2, Monster Hunter World. Hell, even Nintendo had some. It wasn't a great year compared to last year. Even they had some, like Project Octopath, Pokemon Let's Go, and fucking even Super Smash Brothers Brawl. Hey, even then, there was even Soul Calibur 6. The Semu 1 and 2 coming out for the PS4. Santa Claus's PS4 remake, the Spire Reignited trilogy. And there is a couple more. What I'm trying to say is, this has been a fucking great year for console game. For AAA games. Yeah, sure, there's not like tons upon tons, but there's been a decent amount of games. Hell, to me this year, we have had 2 games of the generation release, with God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2. So when I hear people say there was no good AAA games that stood out, or there wasn't really any good games this year, it was kind of a forgettable year, I'm like, what fucking bullshit are you talking about? I mean, I think just cut the shit, right? This year has been a good year. And the thing that frustrates me a lot is when I hear people talking about God of War or Red Dead, naming their problems, like that the Red Dead is too realistic, it's too slow. God of War, the combat isn't as good as the old. There's a lot of slow moments walking around. But then you go back to last year, and for example, Breath of the Wild was being praised as the greatest fucking game ever made. Like, just being praise upon praise upon praise. And don't get me wrong, it's a great game. I love it. It's a fantastic game. The exploration's on point. I like all the different environmental puzzles that get the, I think the Koriaki seeds. I can never pronounce that name right. And even the shrines are fun. It's a good game. Thing is though, it's not fucking perfect, and as far as the Zelda game, it's lacking in a couple of key areas, such as the storyline isn't the best, there's pretty much barely any dungeons, and the dungeons that are in it are very similar to one another. It's probably the poorest in terms of dungeon design we've ever seen, and there's a bunch of other little problems associated with that game. Still, it's a great game, but people act like last year was literally the greatest year in gaming. It was a phenomenal year. But this year has also been pretty darn good for the AAA releases, and I'm just sick of hearing, like, you don't have to, don't get me wrong, right? If you didn't like some of the games that came out, fine, but don't go around with this false fucking narrative saying that there was no quality AAA games released this year. There has been a fucking ton of great games released this year, and I am so sick of hearing the fucking YouTube people who are making these Game of the Year countdown saying that there isn't, and that only a couple of indies made the year any good. Yes, there's a lot of great indies as well. There's a lot. Into the Breach, The Messenger, Celeste, among many others. But there's been a shitload of like AAA games as well. Hell, Vampire, just thought that off the top of my head. So yeah, there's a ton of great games. So where is this coming from? This whole thought process, and that this year is 5 poor AAA games. I'm sorry, right, but I just don't. It's not true. There's a lot of great games. As I said, the fact that this year contained games to the caliber of God of War, Red Dead, Spider-Man, and Monster Hunter alone should say that how good of a year this has been. I know some people are going to say, you're a Sony fanboy. No, I am not. It just happens that some of the biggest releases this year are from Sony. But what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of great AAA games as well as indies, and that you see, right, if you think that this year was very low in games, you mustn't have looked very far for the games that were released this year. Sorry for that little rant, but I just had to get this thought across because for me it's been such a great year, and I just hate people saying that there wasn't any great games when there clearly was. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you guys next time.